morning. It's great to stay up late. Good morning. Good morning to you and you and you. I was just over on Instagram having a bit of a giggle. I'd been listening to the radio and my crush, my major crush, came up. So I was saying on Instagram, who is my crush? One second. Came up. So I was saying on Instagram, who is my crush? One second. How do I turn my volume off? Oh, this always happens. Oh, how do I turn my volume off? Oh, I think it's up here. Hang on. There we go. I was saying, right, my major crush has just been on the radio. Who is my major crush? It was so funny. Oh, Andy Burnham. Well, yes, he is a major crush. John Campbell. Yeah, he's a crush. All these names coming up. And it's funny because none of them are what you would say godlike, are they? And neither is this one. So come on, who can guess? Who can guess what my crush, the crush of the day is that was just on LBC? RMT bloke, Faith Goodman. You were quick off the mark. Do you know what, Faith? Send us an email with advent calendar in the title, and I'm going to send you one of these. I was telling you about these yesterday, guys. Rita, who I have worked with, I have to make that clear, have gifted me some of these. So I'm giving them out to some of our followers. So Faith, put in bold in the email at the title, advent calendar, so I can get it out to you ASAP, so you've got it for the 1st of December. Yeah, Mike Lynch. It's bad. I've got it bad. And I think it's just because he's so fucking, well, I know what it is. He's so smart. Mick Lynch, I was calling Mike Lynch. He's so smart. I haven't heard one presenter, none of them, not James O'Brien, not Nick Ferrari, no one on the telly, that he hasn't run rings round. And there's a bit of a theme here, isn't it, with the men that I have crush on. John Campbell, very smart, very measured, doesn't get ruffled. Andy Burnham, oh my God. I've got this thing about Andy Burnham that I want to bake him a pie and mash. Yeah. Mark doesn't really like pie and mash. Elaine Denning, he does not look like Phil Mitchell. We're not talking about what Mick Lynch looks like. It's Mick Lynch's brain. And on that, I was thinking, wow, actually, that's a journey, isn't it? Where you do actually just fall for people's brains. I've got a type, Zoe. I've got a type. Okay. Who can put into words what my type is? Very intelligent, articulate blokes just like Mark. Yes, Linda. And of course with Mark, I've got the full package because he's gorgeous too. So come on, who can give me a funny breakdown of what you have to be for me to fancy you? Yeah, I do go for intelligent men. I haven't always. When I look back into my murky past, yeah, they have to be funny. My dad says, unless you can have a belly laugh once a day, no marriage will work. And he also says, unless you can take the piss out of each other, it will never work. Yeah. So unique. Yes, I did say I've got early cataracts yesterday. I went to the optician, they told me I've got early cataracts. I mean, I think it's quite a simple operation, isn't it, down the line? But, I mean, I don't need one yet because I can still get good vision with my glasses. But it was quite a shock because he said we don't expect to see this till 65. Intelligent, funny and caring. Kind, intelligent, funny, yeah. Well, but I don't know whether Mick's funny. Is Mick funny? I don't know, I'd have to see it. I have to have a pint with him to find out whether he's funny. So how are you, my lovelies? How are you? How are you? Oh, that's Maddie over there. Yep, just doing live. Half an hour or so, darling. So Mark is filming today. That's why Mark isn't with us. To be quite honest, he drove me bloody mad yesterday on the wine o'clock. He was on one. Zoe had the worst crush in the pandemic on Hugh Edwards. Now, right, that's interesting because I think the psychology behind that is safety, can look after you. When you think we were so awry, weren't we, during the pandemic? That, yeah, I can understand that. Oh, he cracks a smile occasionally, Michelle S. says. Oh, so Mick will occasionally crack a smile. Oh, who's that?
Me.
Oh, it's Mark. He's already back. He left so early this morning. Oh, that's a good moment for you to walk in. I was just talking about my crushes.
Oh, okay.
So funny. Mick Lynch was on the LBC.
Yeah.
So I went on to Instagram and said, who knows which one of my crushes were on LBC? It was just so funny seeing all the guesses.
Everyone
John
knows.
Campbell.
Yeah.
So I said, I've got a theme. Zoe says you've got a type. And we were just saying,
What is it?
intelligent,
Oh.
funny. I said, and they were saying like Mark is. I
Balls.
said, but with Mark, I get the full package because he's got his hair, his own teeth, and he's gorgeous.
I'm circumcised.
And circumcised.
I'm just going to get a coffee.
All right, well, you take your time, darling. Yeah, so I'll start with, so we're going to be chatting today about menopause. We're going to be talking about online gambling, which I think has got completely out of hand. And we're also going to be talking about the things you should never say to your kids at mealtimes. And I thought that'd be quite fun if we thought about things that we think fucked us up, that our parents said to us around mealtimes. So have a little think about that because I
My
want
mum
to...
said, pass me the Rizzler.
Pass me the Rizzler, his mum said. Hashtag awkward. Yeah, so have a little think about that because I want to hear your stories. But first of all, menopause. I didn't realise that the NHS are the biggest employers of women in the UK. They employ alone, I think it's 1.5 million women. So no wonder they're a bit ahead of the game when it comes to thinking about and considering how to help women when they are going through. Someone gambled £650 out of my account online. Oh my God, Lisa. Okay, we'll save that story. On how employers can best support women in menopause. So, menopausal women working in the NHS will be able to work from home, of course, is the title of this article in the Telegraph, because they want everyone to go, women and menopausal women and how to work from home. What a disgrace. This has all gone too
What's his face?
This has all gone too far now. We need everyone back in the office. So on purpose, that headline is given to us in that way so that people can get angry. But actually, that's just a small part of their plans to support women. And of course, that will only be for in some rare occasion. What they're asking for is totally fucking reasonable. Flexible working patterns are going to be considered for those struggling with their symptoms under this plan. They realise that too many women are silently suffering. It's costing a fortune in people going off sick because they're claiming sick rather than saying about that it's actually their menopause. Also cooler uniforms, fans where necessary, shorter hours, flexible breaks, remote working, and also being flexible with changing shifts so that people aren't having to travel at really busy times. And when you think about that, if you're struggling with brain fog, anxiety, the sweats. I mean, I never got the sweats to the degree that some of my friends have it. I've got two friends that met Kaz and Lizzie England, who you all know, my friend Lizzie, who's in sort of early menopause because of her cancer. She will literally, I mean, her life can be made an absolute misery with the sweats. And for employers to just ignore this, I think is really, really foolish because we have a massive shortage in not only the NHS, but right across the board, on experienced, older, wiser people, you know, in the workplace, and we need them. So it just makes sense. You know, there's a good quote here from Mariella Frostrep, who says,
Actually, cataract.
It isn't a concession, it's just common sense. You know, you want to hang on to these women. You don't want to be paying out a fortune on sick pay because of those days that they just can't face coming in. So I thought I would just ask you guys, what would you... How do I go back to that? I forgot now. Oh, yeah.
Sorry,
Ask you guys, what would have made things easier for you with at work? I think somebody just said their fans, cooler, lighter uniforms. Well, that's all part of the plan. I had early menopause too when I had cancer. Where's that? Oh, sorry, I wanted to read out your comment. Because I think that you have to be aware of that. Because menopause, of course, is one of those silent illnesses. Like somebody we know at the moment has reactive arthritis, and you'd look at him, strapping young man, you wouldn't know that he's in crippling agony on and off through his day. And I think menopause, you know, it can be physical, it can be mental, and nobody knows. And there are a lot of young people. It's not just people in their 40s and 50s. There's somebody that might have been through cancer treatment that could be in their 20s, like a friend of mine when she went into hers, and you wouldn't know. So if you could go quietly to your employer and say, look, this was what I'm going through, why would you not
of
make
course,
things flexible?
Nick Ferrari on the radio is coming from the perspective of how can you prove it? How can you be certain that you've got members of staff that are struggling with the menopause and not just wanting to skive? Do you need sort of diagnostics on it? And
I think those
so
are
he's coming from that.
I think those are fair enough questions, because, and especially for smaller businesses who might have somebody that they think is a bit of a skiver and they can't get rid of them. But there's no point punishing the millions because of the few. And also, the real problem to the economy is that people are leaving the workplace.
But could there also be the negative byproduct that employers avoid women of a certain age for fear that, you know, if menopausal rights kick in
like they
too
do
much,
with pregnancy.
Precisely.
But you know what? They're going to have to cut out all women, because you've got women that are pregnancy age, you've got women that... There we go, 50% of the bloody population gone.
So women are not allowed to be in any way hormonal.
In any way.
Or medical.
Even though a man's hormones just go in one straight line through their whole life, and every single day our hormones, except for when they drop a bit with testosterone.
No, I was going to
But
say...
every single day we are in some way
I think it would be
playing a game with our
interesting. It'd be
hormones.
interesting if they did an analysis of the hormonal balance of pretty objectionable men. You know, there's a lot of horrible male bosses. I wonder if they're actually going through hormonal crisis or whether they're just nasty.
We're talking about men, we're talking about women.
No, I know, sorry, I'm just
Why
sort
do
of
we
saying,
just
I'm
have to
trying to
flip over to
protect
men
women.
whenever-
No, I'm talking about how horrible men are. I'm not actually... So
What are
this
some
is
of the
specifically
things?
in the NHS, isn't it?
Melanie Morrison, I had lunch with a couple of friends. We talked about the menopause. I was saddened to learn how it affected them. I've told them to immediately see their GP and get on the HRT patches. Yeah. I mean, there's so much more awareness now, but there's still so many women that don't know that they don't have to suffer in silence. And, you know, and I think the more and more women go and ask their bosses and put pressure on them to make some concessions, the better. So they're leading the way, the NHS, and this is, you know, they're advising other employers to look at their, you know,
Working
their
practices.
working practice. So I just think that's all good.
Susan Ballantyne, no matter what there will always be, no matter what, there will always be someone that will take advantage, same as always minorities spoil the majority.
Exactly.
I suppose I wonder whether there needs to be, what they could do is introduce some kind of medical exemption certificate, or, you know, like with schools, you've got to have evidence to prove. You know, I suppose you get a note from your doctor that kind of acknowledges that you're struggling with menopausal symptoms. Perhaps that would just make it...
I mean, like anything else, you could say you've got a bad back.
Precisely.
How many people are claiming bad backs?
Yeah,
you don't want to see a
yeah,
bad back.
yeah.
Paula Farron wants advice on how to get the sticky off. Mark says I look like a bargain basement bucket.
You do.
He's always-
No, I'll tell you what you look like. Remember in Our Price, the record
See if I've
store?
got any.
If
Yeah.
you've got any old vinyl and they used to put the Our Price sticker on and you try and take it off, it looks like that.
So there's my one at the moment.
Careful, baby, showing you none.
No, I'm not.
Oh, you are, because it reaches round.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, look, it's that you're talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, that.
Well, you know what you use? Mayonnaise really works well, or coconut oil, Well, any sort of oil, really. Don't scrub. Use oil is the best thing.
Helen B, if you want to join, there is a membership down below. Some very, very generous people have recently bought batches for anonymous people. Or not anonymous,
Baby oil,
random
says
people,
Gloria.
so-
Baby oil.
But yeah, Helen B, if you want to join, let's
Nick
check this out.
Burton, I suffered all the way through my menopause. Not fair. Not bloody fair.
DT, a certificate from the GP would suffice.
Laurel Nichols wants to say a thank you to the kind person who gifted her a month's free membership in the
Very
membership
sweet,
area,
yeah.
and so would we. Lovely. We say it all the
It's
time.
probably
The best
Stacey
followers,
or Martina. So
the
yeah.
best followers and the best subscribers, and it's just as simple as that. Faith Goodman just won one of these.
Oh wow!
Because
I didn't know we were doing
straight
that
off
yet.
said Mick Lynch. No, I was just doing one.
Nick Lynch.
Mick.
Lynch. I was just
Mick
listening
Lynch.
to him on the radio.
So tonight in the members area, we're doing 5 of those giveaways instead of cards.
So if you had a choice between me and Mick Lynch,
You, darling, all day long.
really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
I tell you what, no, just listening to him though, he managed to dodge Nick Ferrari quite nicely.
Mark, there has not been a single presenter on TV or radio that I've
Yeah.
heard that he hasn't run ring rounds. He's so
I
smart.
couldn't work out how he did it though, because I mean, like at one point, he did the classic. Well, you're earning a load of money, and and he's like, well, I've worked very hard to represent my.
He never. It's
No,
like
I mean,
it's like
it's like just because you're fighting for workers' rights, you're disallowed having a good salary. I mean,
And
that's
when
a
Nick
ridiculous
read out
thing.
that very upsetting tweet from a woman who wasn't going to make her son's.
Yes, did you hear that?
Yeah. But he said, I'm really sorry about that, and I don't want that to happen. But are
Yeah.
we also asking the government, who are just doing nothing and actually blocking the talks? They never read those tweets out to the Transport Minister.
Exactly.
Never
And he
heard them
made
do that.
there was a really important distinction made, I think, on Radio 4 whilst I was heading off this morning, where they said, there's back in the 70s, the narrative was that the government could blame the economic woes of the country on the striking workers. Whereas I think it is different at the moment. It's a different situation where people are striking because of how the government have driven the economy into a bit of a wall. So I do think there's a bit of difference. There's always going to be a case study that the press are always going to seize upon.
Yeah.
That is the worst case. Well, it's a little bit like the menopause story.
Yeah.
The first thing to run to is how are people going to
Gonna
cheat
work
the
from
system?
home.
Yeah.
Leslie Smith, I've been given HRT and I'm too scared to start it. I have crippling health anxiety since my partner died last year. Oh, sweetie. My rational brain knows it would really help, but the terrified bit wins. Leslie, I was the same when I got my HRT. I kept it for weeks before I started to try it. The thing is, you can always try it and you don't have to carry on with it. But what I would say is reach out to Louise, Louise Newson on Instagram and ask for her to, what you can do for anxiety around this. There's loads of brilliant Instagram accounts with all sorts of specialist menopause doctors, and a lot of them will answer those questions. So reach out. That is, of course, if you haven't got a sympathetic GP, that you can go in and say, please help me with my anxiety. Blah, blah, blah. Of course, that would be the best thing, but I know a lot of people can't see their GPs. I have to say, we are very lucky. We have a great GP.
Nikki Burton, I suffered bad with menopause on top of fibromyalgia, osteoarthritis and depression and high functioning anxiety. Jesus
Bloody
Christ,
hell. And
Nikki.
Nikki, I bet you kept a lot of that secret from your employer as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
Silent suffering. We just never know what people are going through.
God, I just nearly went dizzy then.
Oh.
Is it me or is the light?
Have you had your medication?
Not yet, no. Is the light
Have it
funny
on.
in it?
It is a bit. It keeps going. Go on, have it. Because he's terrible. He keeps forgetting to take
I'll
his
do it,
medicine.
I'll do it after this.
Have it now.
No, I'll do it after this because I'm drinking a coffee. So what was the other story? Online gambling causing surge of suicidal young men in A&E. And this is interesting because on the radio today there was an advert for Something Bets. What is it? Something Bets. Harry Redknapp does the advert where he always comes on and
Listen to me, the best thing to do is not spend any money you haven't got.
All he ever does is do the warning. He just does the
But no,
warning.
but I thought-
in the warning...
Yeah, well, no, but interestingly, at the moment, the advert is only a warning. So this morning, it was him saying, "I'm actually taking a bit of time off." Actually,
Oh.
They literally go. It's not Sky Bets. What is it? Does anyone know what it's called? Something Bets, and he goes, "Nah, sorry, mate, I'm not available. I'm taking some
Right.
time off, and I'm turning it all off. Only gamble what you can afford." And I thought, okay, within the world of within the world of within the world of
Gambling.
gambling, yeah, exactly. You know, that's got to be a good thing if they're sort of creating dedicated adverts.
Well, the thing is, I was listening to a guy on the radio last week who is the absolute aficionado on gambling for young people. And this is like under 18. Because I think this particular article is for like young men. But he was saying, he said, I'm not anti-gambling for adults, but we have a huge, huge problem with young people gambling, and just like nothing is being done about that. I mean, the thing is 24/7 the availability for gambling, just like porn. And I think we talk a lot on here about, I mean, we've got daughters and I'm very female orientated issues, but you know, from the young people that we talk to through our kids and through other people we know, there is a dire situation out there for young boys. I mean, they are overwhelmed. They're talking almost as much, when you hear stories coming back, don't you, from different groups, about self-harming, about body issues, you know, gambling, all these things. And I think they're going a bit under the radar in some
As Anne H
instances.
says, just to say please gamble responsibly to someone who has a gambling addiction is ridiculous. It is.
Ridiculous.
It's like saying try drinking responsibly.
Well, what do you feel about those ads? Do you feel those ads are just about ticking a box so that
Yes.
they continue? I do.
Yeah,
I'm
totally.
afraid
100%.
because
Their business is trying to make money.
now, addiction is addiction, isn't it? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter whether it's gambling or alcohol.
No, and they're looking for the dopamine hit, and they're looking for the, you know, it's the same sort of. But of course, what comes with it is yeah, excuse me. What also, I mean, it comes with lots of things. Rock bottoms, obviously, more often than not, it's a financial one, but it's not just that. And I think this story is interesting that there's a direct connection between online gambling and a surge of suicidal young men in A&E specifically. A 42% annual rise in demand for NHS gambling clinics has happened.
And the doctor there was saying, you know, I just keep seeing exactly the same person arriving in football shirts, same age, same.
Yeah, look, here we go. One of the first things I noticed was groups were filled with young men wearing football shirts. That hasn't stopped. These are the kind of gambling addiction kind of groups or NHS groups.
This was interesting. Earlier this year, the NHS stopped taking cash from the gambling industry for the treatment of people suffering addiction. No, but listen to this. It was through patient pressure.
Yeah.
Because they were comfortable. They were comfortable with the industry that had got them in the mess helping to heal them.
Well,
Do you think that's odd?
I do, but maybe
I
that's
think it's-
that's a sort of government. The fact that they rejected
Well, it was
the
through
money.
patient pressure. Patients who were uncomfortable at using services paid for by the industry. Yeah. But you see,
It's curious, isn't it? It would be like
Yeah.
cigarette firms kind of supporting lung cancer charities.
But you know, there is such a shortage.
What do you think, guys?
There is such a shortage of rehab centres that I think if the industry that play a part in, I know what you mean. There's something a
doesn't
bit
seem right.
yick about it, but I think, do you want the fight with the gatekeeper or do you want the grapes? The grapes being that there are places set up to help people that are in dire straits, and let's not underestimate the impact that gambling has on a family and all those around the gambler.
I never cease to be
it's
amazed how
so
many
tough.
people say they do sort of take it. You know, I've worked with people who say, "Oh yeah, no, I regularly have a flutter on the horses or on the." I mean,
Well, a
it's-
flutter if you can afford it, because it's a bit of a. It's rather like somebody that can go to the pub and have a pint.
Yes.
Or the person that goes to the pub and has to have
but
10
therein
pints.
lies the problem.
But we would say close all pubs.
But then, of course,
it's the same thing. A lot of people can have a flutter and not, you know, destroy the lives of them and their family. I've got a
Live
friend.
Well says, "Where's their own responsibility?" Because it functions like an addiction. I mean, it becomes.
But we do have to say stop selling cigarettes, close all
Yeah.
pubs. So, you know, what can be done? I think there has to be much, much stricter regulation on youngsters because they're getting them early.
I think they should have, rather than having a limit
Happy
on
birthday,
how
Anne-Marie,
much you
we'll sing
can
for you.
bet on a particular sort of trade, if you like. I think they should have something where they put a limit on what you can bet across a year. So do you know what I mean? So that there's a really tight limit, so that once you've used that amount, you're done. Sorry.
Just Mandy Lowe, I just wanted to read Mandy Lou's. My ex gambled our life away, stayed for 12 years with him and he promised to get help all the time. I just couldn't cope with it in the end. He's still doing it after another 25 years. There you go.
I tell you what though, what
There you
about
go.
this though? But you
My
know,
friend of mine, you know, I mean, I knew her for about a year and a half, and then one day she just spilled out all this stuff about her father was a gambler, and the impact that it had on the whole family through their life, just devastating.
I mean,
Selfish.
but what about
anything to get that money to gamble?
Okay, so what do you think? Okay, we can all get very sort of like cross with the gambling firm. The lottery is a form. I've many times have I stood in a newsagent's. You don't go in a newsagent's that often, but many times I stand in a newsagent's and I see someone buying 6 packs of beer. That's someone different. And I see someone else go, can I have 2 of that and 3 of that and 4 of that of the lottery cards? They do them at the thing. And I'm trying to get myself, and they go, no, give us 2 more. I mean,
exactly.
It's a craven need.
This guy that was talking about good shit lollipop. It is illegal to gamble if you're under 18, but there are lots of ways around it. Like he was saying on the video games. I don't know enough about video games. It's a kind of a gambling situation because you buy these other things. Scratch cards, he said, were a huge problem. There's all sorts of.
I think gambling firms need to, well, of course, where the problem kicks in is a lot of gambling firms advertise in sporting events. Lots of sporting events are
scratch cards at
watched.
16, that's right.
Lots of sporting events are watched by young men. Lots of young men kind of get hardwired. So Sky Bets, for example, you know, you see Sky Bets on the hoardings at the football thing and you think, oh, you know, I'll have a bit of a tipple, you know, and it's hard. It's hard.
Oh, Melanie, isn't that sad? I know someone who buys loads of lottery cards and she can't afford it. Oh, that awful thing of like spending that last bit of money that you need for food because you're just desperate to double it up and you're just not going to.
Lee Durrant, I gambler day and night. Now I'm paying £30 of debt. Have been paying off for 4 years now.
Lee?
Really, Lee? Oh, wow. Okay.
Really?
And what
And
is
I
that
suppose
original
that's not
hook?
great for your anxiety and stuff. That's so hard.
No. All I get told all day is it's only 87p, Mum. Roblox, kids getting hooked
Yeah.
definitely
There we
starts
go,
early.
Roblox, yeah.
So what's Roblox is a game where you bet, is it?
I don't know. We don't know enough about it.
My husband, Laura Lou, buys scratch cards now and then. About once a year, he wins £5. He's spent more than £5 on them through the year. Wasted. I mean, well, obviously, the problem with gambling, of course, when you look at these, and at the high end, you've got casinos. The odds are stacked massively against you winning or making a living, and yet it's the temptation and the tease and the dope. And so what they do, the system, the algorithms of all of the kind of gambling firms, they give you just enough to hook you in and think, oh, maybe, and then you're off.
Right, we need to move on because we've got to finish. We've got so much to do today,
No,
haven't
I know.
we? So, Lee, what's Lee saying? Oh, God, everyone's laughing. What's
I'm going
he
to say
said?
something that will shock you.
What have you said?
I love a scratch card.
Yeah, but you're not buying 20 of them when you can't afford
Yeah.
it. You're doing an occasional scratch card.
Yeah.
So just quickly, I wanted to do mealtime mistakes with kids. Now, I actually agree with this whole
look,
article.
Lee just clarifying 30,000 of debt when I was unwell in 2018.
Oh, you sweet.
Well done, Lee, for getting out of that.
Yeah,
you
well
know,
done.
One day at a time. One
Yeah,
day at a time.
good man.
Sorry. 9 things you should never say to your kids at mealtime.
Right, now, I actually agree with I agree with all of this. Because I do think that, you know what they're saying?
Yeah.
Parents, they fuck you up. I think the food fuck up comes right from when you're small. Of course, we try and undo it later, but it starts young. So finish your broccoli and then you can have dessert.
This just all makes me laugh because if my mum's watching, there were no words of caution or anything, limits, when I was eating. Here's your food. That was it.
It says this food negotiations are not good.
So finish
the
broccoli,
problem
then
with
you
this
can
is that you reinforce disconnecting eating. You're getting your kid to eat the broccoli, but not because their body wants it. Well, I agree with that, but how do you make a child understand their body wants
Well,
broccoli?
how do you make them eat a broccoli then?
Well, my thing is with the kids is I say, I don't talk too much about health. I go, great hair, great skin, because they're teenagers.
So you're appealing to looks.
to looks.
There's always, but that's interesting. There's always bribery of some.
I
form.
say it's just that's really. They'll say, "Mum, what is this good for?" And I say,
this.
"Well, that's what you need for glow."
This is a bad one.
Look who finished clearing their plate. This is not good.
First, look who finished cleaning their plate first.
What does that
Generating
teach?
Competitive eating.
Melanie Morrison, we just squeezed our mash through our teeth and always got told off.
Eat what's on your plate
Cherry
before you
rums.
leave the table,
Yeah.
says Cherry.
I remember once sitting. My mum
gonna pull this up so you
made
can read
me sit for ages with a plate of vine leaves, that I was gagging eating them. I hate them so much. I actually did a book, Stuff I Only Saved My Life.
Chesa Babe says, I was always told, finish everything on my plate, then take it into adult. Can I just say,
That's wrong.
Eating everything on your plate is a really loaded thing for me. I quite quickly attach, because I think I never knew what I was getting from my mum, and sometimes it really wasn't very much, and often it was inedible. And so I didn't expect much. And when I went to my nan's, she would feed me up a little bit like Hansel and Gretel. So I really felt that what she was giving me in the food was love, right? But what that translated into was I never felt I could leave an empty plate because I feel like she'd think I was rejecting her love.
Well, that's...
And that is still there now.
Right, so emotional connection to food. I had so much of that with my extended family, you know.
Right.
You didn't eat, I cooked all day, my feet are aching, I hurt my back. I went to the shops, I bought it, I carried it. You know, it'd be like, fucking hell, okay. Lee, I was once given something like mackerel, which I hated, and I was then made to eat it for breakfast, as I didn't eat it the night before. Oh, this was the 90s kind of, I mean, I think we've moved on quite a lot. I was told to eat a sprout with my dinner, then I could go and visit my aunt. I threw up and couldn't go. Never did learn to like them. Pixie petals.
Sprouts?
You weren't allowed. She was told to eat one sprout. Well, she couldn't go and see her aunt. She ate it, she threw up, and she still wasn't allowed to see her aunt. Even though you ate it.
Bloody hell.
Brutal, isn't it? Of course, people weren't meaning to be cruel, these parents, but they were cruel.
It is cruel.
Let's
What
run
other
through
ones?
some of the other ones. Don't waste food. Now, what I always say in this house is, it's as much of a waste to put food into your body when you're full as it is to throw it away. Because to overeat, to teach your child to overeat rather than throw it away is just messed up.
I agree.
You have to try one bite. Well, everyone says that,
I've
don't
heard
they?
you say that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've
About
made all
new
these
food.
mistakes.
I suppose that's all right when you're wanting kids to expand their range and explore things.
Yeah, but it says, because they say a child needs to try something 7 times before they really know whether they don't like it. Yeah. There are a couple of reasons to not try to force a child to eat, no matter how small the portion is. It sets up a power struggle you will never win. Are you really going to make your kid remain at the table alone, staring down at that one spear of asparagus? People do.
I think some people do.
I think it's.
Can I just quickly read this? I just want to read Stacey Randall's. My grandmother used to tell all the family to give their leftovers to me. I always felt bad saying no, so I'd force myself to eat it all.
Oh,
That's an interesting point.
sweetie.
That's an interesting point. Now, the family, and they've never done it horribly, they always say, oh, give it to dad. There is often someone in a family dynamic who is considered the Hoover, who will eat the food up. And so sometimes when I'm struggling with how much I'm eating, and it hasn't happened often, but there'll be sometimes times when there'll be the assumption that I'll just scoff what's on the plate.
Well, you were very funny in the restaurant.
and I
Have
will.
you finished your chicken? Have you finished your chicken? Have
Yeah.
you finished your
No,
chicken?
and
You
I
had
will.
everyone's chicken.
Yeah, when I'm asking, it's fine, but the assumption
you're right.
is something
Shouldn't
else.
do
is
it.
something
I've
else.
done that with you over the years. I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
I've made every one of these mistakes. I've
Calm.
never made them cry or sit at the
Oh
table to
my
eat something.
God, Carl McDermott, if I didn't eat my cereal, my auntie would force it down me the next morning. Never ate cereal since, crazy woman.
I feel that's cruel.
Mandy Lou, I had to have 3 sprouts for my dinner and eat them, or was told I'd get nothing else all day. God, don't people use food in a deeply,
No wonder we're all
darkly
so
negotiating
fucked
fashion?
up about food.
I know.
I always make them jump.
Donny Harvey,
so
my
annoying.
friend was told she had to eat all her veg. She used to put as many peas as she could in her pocket until her mum found them hidden in her
Yeah,
wardrobe.
we've all done a bit of that.
Steph Whelan, my parents never gave me the choice of what was for tea, had to eat the same as the rest of the family. Now I enjoy all kinds of food as I wasn't given the opportunity to
That's
become
good.
a fussy eater.
That's good. Fifi Cromack. My parents used to make me eat cheese sauce.
Or you don't get pudding, but I love it now. Isn't that funny?
You see, I don't like that. If you don't eat this, you won't get pudding. Again, I think it's using, sweet thing. It's the reward. You've got to get the reward system out of people's thinking, because we all do it, don't we? We go, oh God, I'm so miserable. Let me have chocolate. Oh, so da da. It's from early age you learn that sweet things are the reward for bad things.
Yeah.
And so when you say that's disgusting, eat it, and then you'll get something sweet. That's where that reward system is planted.
Still very hard though to make vegetables desirable, isn't it? I mean, I know you're going to say no, they're brilliant.
Olive oil,
Vegans say
butter,
they're
garlic.
brilliant.
You've
No,
got
I
to
know,
add.
but you've still
This
gotta
is
eat
my.
it.
Here's
It's
a little
really
tip.
hard.
Nearly all kids love garlic bread. So make a little pot of butter with some garlic in it and say, do you want garlic bread broccoli? That's what I used to do to Maddie. And she'd dip the broccoli in the garlic butter because it was garlic bread butter. And now broccoli is practically the only vegetable she eats.
All right, well,
Oh, thank you. I
So
love
we've got
it
a
when we get your stories of your childhood. Good chip, Lolly. I let mine serve up their own plate with the understanding they eat what they serve themselves.
that's a good
I
idea.
really think that is brilliant.
Yeah.
And there's a lot on Instagram about this, that you make no fuss. You put the food, you take it away, no fuss. Because children actually, because what you're doing is you're teaching them not to listen to the instinct that goes, you've had enough.
Yeah.
Or, I mean, it's important not to give them a banana. I used to give them a banana if they hadn't eaten, because they'd go, I have a banana. But actually what you're always doing is giving them a pudding. So if they don't eat it, then that's fine. And then, later if they're hungry, give them something again that's a savoury, like a meal.
So 7:30 members live.
7:30 members live.
Chance to win some.
Chance to
advent
win
calendars.
some advent calendars. We want to get these out before the 1st of December.
And all the incoming postal strikes.
If you want to join the members area, it's 37 pence a week, and there's a join button under here that will give you the info on how to do that. So 7:30. Oh my God, we've got a busy day.
Yeah, you've got lots of bits that you have to get.
Jesus,
We have
I've got to
get
go
all
out and
sorts
do
of-
voiceovers as well in the middle
All
of
right, guys.